Hey, how are you doing? Welcome back to the channel. So this video is me talking about wargames clubs, how people discover historical wargaming, that sort of thing. I was fortunate enough this year to be able to go to the Joyous Six, and in the panel in the afternoon, there's quite a cool discussion about wargames clubs, encouraging people into historical wargaming. The start of the question was about is historical wargaming a greying hobby, and will we reach a point where we're not got enough sort of younger new people joining, and the older people are no longer wargaming? So what happens to the hobby then? I know in railway modelling, several big shows have been cancelled and several clubs are failing because it's become a bit of a greying hobby and kind of fallen out of favour with young people starting model railway. So actually, there's some really good discussions there about if somebody turns up at your club, if somebody's at the war game show and turns up at your table, or young people, if you get to like a library, a young person gets involved, how to treat them. All very good points and really encouraging to hear. But actually, how do people discover historical wargaming? That's what got me thinking about it. Because if somebody's already made the decision to go to Wargames Club or Wargames Show, they probably is already committed to some level, or they found out about historical wargaming. The pictures that are scrolling through at the moment, this is from our club in Glasgow, ACVC Wargames Fellowship, which I set up last year. It's a successful club in that we're really stable with the amount of players. We'll get about 15 players a week. We do big events at weekends as well. You know, we're growing slowly. We always meet new people. We take time to introduce people to the club. So I'm coming from a point of experience. I've also just been involved with some clubs that have fallen apart due to various reasons recently. So clubs and people gaming in clubs is in my mind at the moment. So this sort of dovetails nicely into my thoughts. So how do people discover historical gaming? There's lots of people out there that have an interest in history, interest in modelling figures. If you go to museums, there's probably a reason why so many displays are done out like battles. Winchester Museum, for example, has a wonderful diorama of the Battle of Waterloo and the engagement at the Snipe. So we know that people like that and are drawn towards that. Actually, these days, primarily, most people are going to find out about the hobby from social media and word of mouth. Let's talk about social media. Putting adverts out for our clubs, setting up our clubs, updating our clubs, making sure people can get information about clubs is vital. And most of us have been living in this digital age for years now. And many of us will be digital natives. So a lot of things we take for granted that other people might not. So, for example, as part of our project we're going to be organising out the SCVC hub in Glasgow, I wanted to invite all the local gaming clubs within the Glasgow area to it. Now, for the person organising it, I says, "Oh yeah, I'm aware of most of the clubs in Glasgow. I'll create a database. I'll get contact details for everybody, and we'll send out information." We are lucky in Glasgow in that if you wanted to war game every night of the week, you probably could with various clubs. So, so when I went online looking for information, I could only get accurate contact information for about 15 out of 30 clubs, i.e. a definite way for our club secretary to go and talk to them. So if I was a new player trying to get information or talk to people, it's not the easiest thing to do. The other thing, think about club names. And certainly we were guilty of this. If your club name is something like, let's say Old Nosey's Contemptible wargamers. You know, that's never going to turn up in a search area. If you're based in Stourbridge, for example, that's never going to turn up in a search area if I type in Stourbridge wargaming. So I'll have a think about that. Certainly, we are the ACVC Wargames Fellowship. And when I started thinking about how do people discover us, I changed our online Facebook group to Glasgow ACVC Wargames Fellowship brackets near Ibrox, close brackets, so that we are more likely to turn up in search functions and for people to understand actually Glasgow, which part of Glasgow it is. Simple things like that. The other thing I came across was a lot of clubs do a lot of stuff on Facebook. However, when Facebook changed its policy and people could just start randomly spamming your groups with stuff, a lot of groups changed it from open to closed or private. This means that a new prospective member looking for information about the club, especially before they commit to turning up, they can't see what's going on, can't see the information. And often, then a lot of the information is hidden behind the secrecy walls. So that was something I hadn't thought about until we started looking for it. Certainly, I'm a proponent of wargaming being open, and none of the groups I run tend to be closed as secret groups. I do run open and often have post approval on. Then there's the clubs which do a lot of their stuff on Discord. And I don't know if you've ever tried to look for stuff on Discord. I knew there was a Wargames group in Glasgow I wanted to find on Discord, and I knew their name. And could I find their groups pages on Discord? I couldn't. So whilst that might work for you and your group, if you're wanting to promote and grow your group, think about how people have access to the social media you're going to do it. The other thing to think about with people discovering your group is word of mouth, is knowing what your group's about and how you comport yourselves. So, for example, we are the ACVC Wargames Fellowship. So the fellowship part's really important for us. So we will prioritize big games, friendly games, games where everybody's rolling dice, having a laugh, and the social side of the hobby is more important than the playing games. Certainly, I've been to some clubs where the focus has been on one person playing one person in a game, and it's almost deathly silent. That means that when we are promoting our group and I'm talking to new members, I can talk about what we are. Doesn't mean you can't play a one-on-one game. But if you are that guy that wants like a win at all costs sort of tournament gamer, then we're probably not the group for you. But I can point you in the direction of some groups that may be for you. We're also very open about the sort of game systems and styles of play that we want, so that when we get a new person, we're able to welcome them in and they're able to choose us if we suit what they want to do. But in terms of word of mouth, that means that we're able to say, actually, if you want this sort of experience, you might want to go to this club. If you want this sort of experience, this is us. And point people in the direction which will best suit them. Especially, like I say, in Glasgow, we've got 30 clubs within driving distance of Glasgow. And that's even before you start looking at the retailers that provide game and space. So you can pretty much game every night of the week. I understand, like back home in Darlington at the time, there's only one club that met once a week till they had a falling out, and then they met two separate clubs meeting on the same night, bizarrely. But that's wargaming for you. So yeah, so think about where you put your messaging out, knowing what you're about, word of mouth, get people down. Got whole other thoughts about how to interact with people the first time they turn up, or new members, or just with your members in general. I'll share for another video. I've been chatting now for about 10 minutes, which is probably about the right length for this video. I'd be really interested to know your experiences of discovering historical wargaming and getting the message out there. There's been some really interesting things. What's actually worked, though, certainly I've done some wargaming events in museums, which have not really been successful. Talking to members of the public is a skill in itself, which is completely different to running a game for gamers. But yeah, let us know what your thoughts are. And I look forward to chatting to you in another video.